Well, today has been a wonderful day for me. I've had plenty of time sitting around, listening to music, doing not much really. Went for a walk all the way along the beach, had a look in the rock pools. Not much else really, which is just exactly what I need. So yeah, just cooking dinner as we speak. That's microwaving away. Dinner tonight. Yeah, well, could be interesting. I when I was at where was I? Geraldton. That's right. That's where I did my cook up. I was going to do a lamb sarg, but there was no lamb at Woolies. So, what? Really? You're kidding? No lamb that I could use anyway. Like I wasn't going to buy lamb steaks or, I just needed chunks of lamb, diced lamb is what I really needed. They had nothing that was going to be like that. All too hard. But what they did have, which caught my eye, was kangaroo steaks. I thought, yeah, all right, price is right. So I got a kilo of that. And, well, that's what we've got. You've got kangaroo sarg, which is still the same traditional Indian recipe for making the sarg part. Lots of spinach and some spices and a bit of luck and a bit of love. So it'll be an interesting dinner tonight. I haven't had kangaroo sarg before, and I'm not sure anybody else has. I don't know how it will go as a combination, but it's what I've done. It's all good fun. It's all good fun. I've been annoying family and friends with sending them photos of this wonderful campsite today, and yeah, catching up with work. Yep, I know. But today was a big milestone for work, and it was good that I wasn't there for it. Not because it wouldn't have gone well with me involved, but just that stuff can go well without me being there is a wonderful thing. It just shows that the machine works. And it all should work without me being involved, right? Just because there can be a big screw up and I'm involved and have to sort it out, that's great. But it's great for the customer and the company to see that others can step in and do that role and do the planning and make stuff happen how it's supposed to happen. And a really big one happened this morning. In fact, a system, very important government system that has been very reliable. In fact, it hasn't been restarted since it was first commissioned back in the beginning of 2019. So, in terms of reliability, that's pretty darn good, really. And we're only shutting it down and restarting it to replace it with the slightly upgraded version. The actual design and topology isn't changing. We're just upgrading the hardware just so that it will be reliable for another 5 years. So, yeah, how reliable is our gear? It doesn't need restarting until you've had 3 blue moons. There was one in 2019 in May, I think. And there was another one in 2021. And then, of course, the one we just had now, which is August 19, 2024. That's about due to rise again. We get a blue moon for 3 nights. So, yeah. So, good, reliable stuff. But it's also good to replace it before it decides to become unreliable, especially when we're talking a critical system, a life-threatening system. It is it makes the news when this system goes down. I'll leave it at that. It makes the news. It makes the news, and the government gets antsy, and yeah, people start asking questions and calling for people's jobs and shit like that. So it's very handy that it doesn't fail. And I'm very proud to be a part of it in keeping that running on a day-to-day basis and making improvements to it. And yeah, so very good that all happened this morning without my involvement. I was so tempted. Like, I woke up about 1 a.m. and I was awake at 2 a.m, 3 a.m when it was all starting, and I thought, man, do I want to dial in, listen in, and just sort of, I don't know, offer candid advice? But no, it's I'm on leave, and as I said, it's good to show everyone involved with the account on both sides of our fence that it can all work without me. Good and bad, right? Job security. But yeah, so I've been very happy with that all day today, which yeah, improved my mood even more than what it could possibly be. Have a look at this sunset picture. I mean, this is the sort of colourings here that WA puts on. I don't know how well this camera will pick it up. I would like to think that it would do a good job, but you just do not know how well it is going to pick it up. You've got, yeah, all the colours. Absolutely fantastic. I'll zoom in a bit. If it'll let me zoom in a bit. There we go. That might be a bit better. Lots of great colours coming through over there. Very hard for me to tell on this camera what it's recording, how well it's doing it. I do expect it's doing a good job. I won't know until I get back home and mozzies everywhere. All right, time to cover up and put the Bushmans on. That's it. The mozzies have come out. But yeah, I won't know how. I'm just hoping that all the colours come out good. For some of the ones that I've put up so far on Facebook for family and friends, it looks like it's okay. But yeah, I need to see it on my monitor at home. I need to see it in HDR. Just see how it is. And bring another tear to my eye, I'm sure, remembering all of this. So yeah, so now that I've actually made it out to Dirk Hartog, tomorrow is not a big long day. I'm not sure exactly how far it is to the next campground, but not far. I know it's from here, it's 37k on the road to get up to Cape Inscription, and I don't have to go that far. So it's probably about 20k or so. But the road is diabolical. There's bad corrugations as I have seen in some parts. It's not all bad, but it's got some bits. It's got some bits that are shaking things to bits. So yes, I'll take my time getting out of here tomorrow, because why would you hurry? Why would you hurry and leave here? I'm in no hurry. I'll have a breakfast, a walk on the beach, mozzies, and yeah, pack up and head to the next one, which I think is Dampier's Landing. I really should look at my agenda, eh? So we'll see what happens with that one. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't think it's going to be as good as this. This is tough to beat. This campground is like having Lucky Bay, WA, the one at Esperance, all to yourself. And that would never happen these days. So yeah, very, very grateful to be able to do this. Anyway, dinner, Bushmans, cover up, dinner. That's what's happening.